Hello, everyone. Welcome to the monthly meeting of the Athens in Motion Commission. Thank you, everyone, for your patience as we solve our technical difficulties to get started. But now we are live and everyone in the world can watch our meeting now until the end of time, as it serves as an important record of our activities on the small town commission.
Little emphasizing there.
I always think that you never know what grad student sure decides to take on certain, something as part of their thesis.
Yeah, their major professor. I got a topic for you.
Yeah. So I'm going to roll call. I am here. Art
Here.
out. Randy.
Here.
Alan.
Here.
Ed.
Yep.
Julie. Here. Greg.
Here.
And Blaine is running late. So for the record, Teresa is out and we'll check Blaine off when he gets here. Daniel or Katie, any public comments?
No.
Okay, so we will, let's see, we'll take a look at our agenda first. If you saw an earlier version of this agenda, we had a presentation for Cherokee Road. That's not happening now. We'll come back to that at a later date. So this will be kind of a quicker meeting with some items from our committee chairs. We'll have time for staff updates. So maybe Daniel won't have to rush as much. And we'll do committee or report backs and get out of here about 5:30. Any additions, changes to our agenda?
I see tabling for that marigold thing, and forgive me if I missed it. Are we doing any tabling for? And it would just be for an agenda thing, but if it's on the agenda for the Twilight,
We are
doing anything? No, okay.
And last year we had done Clarke County School District Family Day. That's why mainly, and they're not doing that this year.
Okay.
So we,
Actually, I've done that before. Yeah.
yeah. All right, with that, I will entertain a motion to approve our agenda.
So moved.
Wait, who said first? Okay, Alan said first, second from Randy. I want to make sure that Blaine gets this on the record. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, coming up next, our minutes. Yes, it is pulled up. All right, we met March 26th. Blaine sent this up a while ago. I'm sorry about that. We had a wonderful presentation from Derek Doster. We still need that presentation somewhere about Lexington Road. We gave comments. Daniel talked about the bike budget. Heard from Todd. Yeah. Any edits to the minutes? All right, with that, I will entertain a motion to approve our minutes.
So moved.
So moves it first from Ed, second from Art. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, our minutes carried. So first up on the agenda, some housekeeping. Our next meeting is slated to be as usual time, fourth Tuesday of May, which is May 28th. This is the Tuesday after Memorial Day. So I wanted to make sure that we have a quorum, or if it seems like we're not going to have a quorum, we should talk about doing our meeting on a different day. Does anyone know that they will not be here on Tuesday, March 28th after?
I'm very iffy.
Greg definitely won't be here. Let me make some notes about this. Actually, I can see some here. Okay. Greg, out for sure.
Right. Like Joe Cassie, in case people need.
Okay.
Where,
Maybe.
Yeah, I'll be burning Panama.
Okay, wait, so you're maybe out, you're definitely out.
I'm supposed to come back the night before. Whether or not I'm actually up and able to get my butt here is another question.
Sounds much more.
Anyone else out?
I think I'm in.
Okay, we don't know. I'm assuming Teresa will be here, but she might have plans.
I will be here the week before though.
Okay, So with just two outages, even if Teresa couldn't be there, we have six.
That's still
So
a
that's a quorum. Okay, that's a little close in case someone gets sick, but I think that we can plan on keeping our meeting just for simplicity. Does that sound okay to y'all?
Yep.
All right, so no vote needed. Thank you for that. Oh, I guess I should talk with staff. Are y'all gonna be here? Daniel? Oh, yeah, okay.
What was the question?
Are you going to be here the Monday after or Tuesday after Memorial Day weekend?
Probably.
Okay. Katie, you're good?
That is May 20 something.
28th.
Yeah.
Schools are out.
That's a good question. Let me check.
Are you gonna be here?
Mhm.
Tuesday after? Cool.
Yeah, I'll be here. Y'all are.
Okay. So, yeah. Should do it then. You can send me your update. Yeah,
Okay,
if she's not.
great. Thank you all for that. And then next up, we have a bike rack survey, and I'm going to put it up on the screen and turn it over to Randy.
All right, so as part of the small projects that we're putting together. Did everyone get the email for the bike survey? Okay. Daniel did a nice job. Put this together. We're just looking to identify different locations so that we can kind of get a pool of, where do we start with taking ideas and then prioritizing to fit the 40? How many racks do you have?
40 currently.
Yeah. To place those 40 racks around the county. Anyone have any issues with? I say I've tried it on every Apple device I have.
We want to do an example survey entry.
I put one in.
Okay,
Get that?
I haven't looked.
I have a question for you.
How good is the survey?
You just want AIM commissioners to fill this out, or is this going to go to the public or businesses, or what are y'all thinking?
Starting, I think we keep it internal.
Internal survey? Okay.
Yeah, we could check with our partners like Bike Athens and, if there's like Georgia Bikes. But not necessarily like a publicly broadcast link.
And should we, is this fill out one survey per bike rack
Yes.
location? Okay.
Yeah.
So as you think of other bike rack locations,
Well, with the caveat that, let's say you want 3 bike racks at one location. The survey allows you, if you go down, it allows you to put in how many bike racks are needed at the location. So it's individual locations, not necessarily individual bike rack locations.
Are these bolted down bike racks?
So these are the inverted view. They're surface mount, not cast in place. And depending on the different responses, I think ultimately the goal here is to get a list of places where we need bike racks. And then currently we have the 40 bike racks that are paid for out of the Athens in Motion Commission. But I believe a future goal of a program like this would be to essentially have a request form if it was for private businesses, or data-driven model that allows us to determine where bike parking is most needed. And then we can essentially have some operational budget go towards that.
So will we see that type of data coming out of the report from AECom?
Maybe. Yeah, it's that could be part of that, or honestly, that could be written into it depends on the data that we need, right? Like, it could be part of a future Athens in Motion revision. Because keeping in mind that the Safe Streets for All plan, that safety action plan, is focused on mostly road safety, and while parking is helpful for getting incentivized biking, I think that fits more into Athens in Motion plan itself. But I would love to see kind of, yeah, what type of metrics do we take into account when figuring out where to have bike parking?
Good choice, Lauren.
Okay, hey, the access road at the Publix on east side, where there's bike lanes, is that county maintained? Where I can't remember, is that private?
I know what you're talking about. I don't know. I think it's county.
Okay, well, I'll optimistic here. In the right of way is county right of way.
Yeah. We'll put in the right of way. And honestly, like this just kind of helps me gather that stuff as we look at the final submissions. Like if we take a look at this in a month and there's 100 locations, we can then in the project and policy committee kind of parse through. And then I think there's going to be probably a future survey where we could send it out to the commission as a whole. And that we could really look at like, how do you want to see the percentage breakdown? Do you want, like, if these are the 5 different types, if it's, 20%, can you click that drop down? So like, would you want to see all of these options, bus stop, right of way, private property? I think leisure services is up above. Is it up above? Yeah, okay, school, park, downtown. Would you want to see all those equally weighed, like, or would you want to see more of them in parks or more of them in private? Like, how do you want to see that percentage breakdown? Right now, this is just kind of where should we put them? And then in the future, we're going to have discussions about what percentage breakdown and how we engage in partnerships with the different organizations.
What is this access road here? The one kind of cuts between Publix and
Yeah,
Walgreens.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
Oh.
yes.
That's is that a road as opposed to a shopping center?
It is a road.
Is that right?
I don't know what road, but I've seen it on our road data. I could glance through.
It's a bit of a digression, but we have time for a digression thing.
Do you,
You're usually the one that shut those.
if it's a business, so you should try.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm looking for like a road name.
I don't see it on this map. I never noticed.
Yeah, there's a light out here, y'all. Y'all know it if you're in your car.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's Barnett Shoals where it comes to Barnett Shoals.
Sorry.
And Gaines School. This is the Walgreens. This is
Covenant's right there. I used to work at Covenant.
Yeah, so we have this access road here and it's got bike lanes, it's got
Yeah.
like a table here.
Yep.
And, we have bike lanes on Barnett Shoals and now we have this Cars Creek connector, which is how I got to East Side when I went on Friday to Jittery Goes. But then,
It's not showing up, but your cursor, there we go.
oh, sorry. Yeah, so,
So where's Cars Creek?
well, it's kind of.
It's
kind of
down
far,
Barnett Hills Road.
Shows, yeah.
But I did use it.
But that's interesting. I mean, it's not uncommon for shopping centers to have stoplights, so
Okay.
that never keyed me into.
Yeah, that's slick.
Y'all
Right?
know it, right? Don't y'all
Oh, yeah.
say-
I probably bike through there every week. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, right now where they're building, what is it, the K Roger is blocked. Which is very, so whatever we're gonna call that new space, that new Kroger. This is all blocked off right now.
Is this where they're gonna have that mega Kroger that was at?
Yeah. It's basically adjacent to the current Kroger.
Can I ask a question that maybe everybody else knows? On that drop down of the options, what does it mean to select on the right of way?
So an example of this would be like a normal town, if you're looking at like near Agua Linda or Hilo or any of those. The space from the front of those buildings to the street is most likely public right of way sidewalk.
Okay.
So that would be
On the
right
right
of
of
way.
way, okay.
Yeah, so
So
I don't know
it's
exactly how
like-
we would do
yeah.
the install in something like that, because I know that our streets and drainage guys are a little too. That's not something within their job description. But if a lot of locations come back within the right of way, then, another example is Hindershots used to have, I think, 2 or 3 bike racks right in front of their location and then a car crashed into them and they were just never replaced. So I don't know if Intershot's installed those as part of their kind of site plan or if that was something that someone in ACC at some point installed in the right of way, but either way, it was not replaced. So,
Now we have the bike lanes, which would probably
and it
make,
would be more of a buffer now. It'd be harder to crash into those. You'd have to go through two barriers.
is it going to be annoying or frustrating to y'all if we put, oh, look at retain, okay. If we put in, like, say a bike rack is not in a great location, if we suggest somewhere else that has a better location or something? Like, okay.
I don't see why not. It might get, lower on the
And that's
prioritization.
I say go for it, because I mean,
Yeah.
it could be if we're talking about the one that's at 100 prints. If that one is surface mounted, I think it should be moved because it's impossible to use as a bike rack.
Do we have any research or guidance as far as people that take the bus and bike to the bus stop? If they actually would park their bike at a bus stop instead of loading it on?
I don't know, but it's more. I don't think we don't have any instances of, we don't currently have any bike racks at bus
Yeah, I've
stops.
never seen
So,
a bike chain to a bus stop. And
you know, I think it's more likely that there could be people out there who are like, well, I don't want to just leave my bike at a bus stop if there's no bike parking and I don't feel like putting it on the bus, so I'm just not gonna take the bus. Like, if that is the thing.
okay, yeah,
I've talked to our transit director though, and he said that he'd be interested in updating one of the standards and having some bike racks. Because one of the other options that we could explore with this is like, if we do put some bike racks at a bus stop, and then in the future, a bike share program is implemented, then you could actually have bike share bikes at those racks. And then that allows for getting on, you don't have to have your bike with you, you can just hop on the bike share.
I wonder if there's ever a spot that'd be good for a secure bike parking, like one of those giant things I have at train stations. Not every bus stop, obviously, but if somewhere were a hot point for people to bike to. On bus.
Yeah, that would probably have to be a different purchase, depending on how much they cost.
Like that vendor that was at the Georgia Bikes event, he had one of those like super
Oh, yeah.
secure things.
Well, that one was, what was that one?
Can't even remember. It was an impressive system.
That was basically like a built-in lock based on your personal, you had like a key card for it or something, I can't remember. You scan it and,
Work through your phone.
yeah, that's right. You scan the QR code and then it would unlock for you. You could reserve bike parking.
It's pretty slick. Sure, it was incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
Question about, if we select private property on that, do you want us to first consult the owner or just say that it would be really useful and then we'll do that after the fact?
Well, and I think like, if this was something that was open to the public, we
Yeah.
would probably have a
Oh, I
disclaimer
see.
there that states that putting a point on here does not mean that we will be putting a bike rack there, so the caveat here is these are ideas. If you're putting it on private business, I don't think we need to be at that stage, because I don't want to engage with the private business, say, oh, yeah, what if, we're gonna do this, and then the committee has so many that they say, oh, actually, no, we're not.
Oh, yeah, and here's a big MOU.
Yeah.
Okay, but what if we put one that's like, say it's on private property, that's like, oh, actually, the county owns this little right of way right here and we could put it there. Are you guys gonna be like doing some evaluations of like, ooh, not here, but just a little bit to the left here?
Yeah, I think like, we'll be looking at all of the locations.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
Well, yeah, I mean, right, each one's going to be
Period.
evaluated and their ranking will be how difficult to install, or, is it just a matter of sending a county employee out there and throwing a couple holes? that's gonna be great. If it's, a little more complicated of dealing with a landowner or moving into a right of way. It won't be easy, but we'll get it done. Yeah.
Kind of interesting that none of the gyms in town that I've seen have bike parking.
Interesting.
Time honored tradition of circling the lot until you get the closest possible. Yeah. Get on the treadmill.
Yeah, that might be true. Like, oh yeah, I think I parked at the YW just like. Oh no, it's far away. Oh, you know what? They have a bike rack, but it's right against the wall, those kinds of things. You just have to like,
Doesn't work.
yeah, pretty much. Even canopies.
Park sideways.
One of the caveats with this is wherever we put the bike rack, as part of providing a free bike rack, we'll also give them the guidelines for bike parking from APBP, Association of Pedestrian and Bike Professionals. And that's they're the leaders in like bike ped infrastructure, and they have a whole guideline on these are good racks to use, these are bad racks to use, these are okay. Here's, ideal parking situation, clear zones, how far apart they should be installed, that kind of thing.
There it is.
Welcome. We made sure to capture the names of people who first and seconded.
Audibly.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hopefully, hopefully. they'll do that. All right, deadline?
Let's see. Today is the 23rd. How does 2 weeks out?
Can you drop the link in the chat for Scott?
Oh, I did, or I meant to.
Scott's got it. Cool.
Oh, yeah, okay, I did do that.
I just don't have it pulled up.
Great. All right, this is fun. I feel
Oh, yeah,
empowered.
exactly.
Yeah, well, I'll say this, like, I've been just kind of like, bike racks, but sure, that's important, I guess. But I went to a rail trail, the Mississippi Tanglefoot Trail, in rural Mississippi, great trail, ends in a little town when the terminus is New Albany and stuff. And then I had the hardest time trying to figure out where to put my bike when I was trying to go to these businesses. And I was like, oh, now I understand the importance. I mean, there was one point where it was like, there was a beautiful business. I was going to go there for lunch. I had this great bike mural on the side. Okay, no joke. It was beautiful. And I was like, there's just asphalt. And then there was this little lamppost that an SUV was right up against. There was just a little triangle of asphalt. And I was like, I think I can put my bike there. And it was actually very difficult. The mural was beautiful, but there was not a tree. There was not a railing. And then, of course, you may have experienced this. People get upset if you're like blocking the sidewalk and you don't want to block the sidewalk, or you're blocking a railing. You're like blocking wheelchair access. I'm like, I just want to put my bike. Yeah. So I thank y'all for doing this. We come to see the importance of it more and more. Okay, so moving on to an item from Education and Communications Committee, we have tabling coming up for the Marigold Festival on May 11th. So I'll turn it over to Julie.
Yeah. So I'm sure, hopefully everybody got my email where I sent out some information about the Marigold Festival. As Lauren mentioned, Clarke County Family Fun Day was something that seemed to be a really great experience last year, but unfortunately, because of some staffing changes, it's not happening. We've heard different things about attending Twilight. So the Marigold Festival felt like a cool, interact with lots of families and young people in the community. And it'll be Saturday, May 11th. It's in Pittard Park in Winterville. And it's a pretty long tabling time that we have. So setup starts at 7 a.m. on Saturday, which I'm more than happy to be there in the morning. And then the actual tabling goes from 9 until at least 3 p.m. And the reason that it's so long is because I guess they try to minimize traffic as much as possible to ensure that folks can really move around safely. So once you get there, you're kind of locked in tabling wise. So 3 is like the earliest that we're able to leave, but we can stay until 5. And they said the breakdown is much easier after 5 p.m. So Daniel has graciously offered to be there the entire time. And so the way that we're kind of envisioning this, it is an opportunity for us to set up a table with an interactive activity where kids and their parents and guardians will just kind of quickly come by. It's not anything that has to be too lengthy. So it will be really low effort for folks who do end up tabling, since they're going to try to have like people moving through the tabling space as quickly as possible. So with that being said, we'll start at 9 a.m. and plan to wrap up between 3 to 5. We'll kind of finalize everything in our committee meeting that's happening on Thursday. But so if y'all have the availability that Saturday, feel free to sign up for a shift. We've broken it into, I think, 4 2-hour shifts. But with that being said, if you can only stay for like an hour, that's totally fine. If you want to stay for a little longer, that's fine. I really think we'll only need like 1 or 2 commissioners max that are there with Daniel. But again, very low effort, and we'll finalize the activity and what things will look like at our meeting on Thursday. So if people want to wait until I send out that information post meeting on Thursday, that's totally fine.
Will there be maps of the Firefly Trail available to discuss with people since it goes right by that park?
It's a good question. Do we have?
Last time I was there, Firefly had their own booth.
Yeah, they've been there
Greenway had a booth, Firefly had a booth.
at least because I've worked at their booth. It gets a huge crowd. I mean, it is massive. It probably doubles or triples the population of Winterville in one day.
What are the different events? I know there's the 10K because I've done the 10K before, but
And then there's the parade, right?
Right. Live music.
okay.
This particular tabling opportunity that we're doing, we're going to be in what they call their eco village, which is like educational tables that are focused on, environmental impact. So we're going to have to, kind of create some type of activity that's relatively focused. But yeah, with there being so many people, I think it's going to be them just kind of coming, not a ton of like education and, like talking a bunch. It'll just be trying to kind of move them through relatively quickly while passing out materials.
And in the eco section, the kids come with a card that gets stamped by each of the, at least that's how it's been in the past.
Okay.
So, there will be an audience coming through and coming to the booth.
Okay, questions or anything? Like I said, we'll have more detailed information after our meeting on Thursday where we finalize our activity and everything.
I know folks probably have to check their schedules, but just a temperature check. Who thinks they're going to sign up for a shift?
How's that place on?
Okay, great.
Unfortunately, I definitely.
Oh, no worries at all. Yeah. Like I said, it should be really low effort. So I think 1 to 2 people max will be plenty with Daniel.
So I know the Firefly.
And I did not sign up for setup.
That's okay. I'll do setup.
Specifically did not. Saw that at 7 a.m. and I was like,
On a Saturday, it shouldn't be too bad.
I biked it last year.
if you really need me,
I ride that up to
then I'll be
Great
there.
Valley and.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
The road.
I get a weekend.
But I can't stay from 7 to 5.
There's a couple of them.
Yeah, we can show you some routes after the meeting, because it's nice.
Yeah.
It's a great brunch ride.
Till they start the Meisner plant, but that's all.
Yeah. Well, you can take Moss Road into the other way.
Cabling stuff is there.
You'll be.
Do we have an easiest?
I think with my wife, and she doesn't like.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah, it's a good thing to go into.
That's kind of scary.
Yeah, I've taken it with some casual riders. I think it's okay.
Oh.
Also, the new vests have been delivered to Teresa's house.
Great.
Unfortunately, the time she needed me to come get them was on our holiday yesterday, so I was like, well, maybe just tuck them in the garage and we'll figure it out when you get.
Right. Okay, next staff updates. So, Todd, if you are there and ready, we'll receive your update.
Okay, let me get my screen back up. In a second. There we are. All right, just quick update. The Firefly Trail East Broad Street Trailhead is pretty much done. The contractor just needs to basically install our signs on the granite walls. And there's a bollard that goes between the two columns here at the lower entrance where the bike entrance is. And then the water fountain, they have it installed, but I believe there was a part that was not included in the box, and so they're trying to get that part ordered and get the water fountain up and running and everything. So that one's pretty well done. At some point, AT&T had talked to us about potentially moving their poles. They haven't gotten back to us on when they would anticipate doing that. So it'd be awesome when they remove these two poles that they have remaining there. And it'll look really clean and neat. So anyway, and then
Yeah, I'm Todd. It looks great. I took it to come to this meeting. It's so much easier.
It's really,
Yeah,
it's really.
very nice.
We wrote on it Sunday or something. It's great.
Yeah, I saw that therma paint looks great. The walls look great. I saw the guys putting it in. I'm very impressed with stone masonry right now.
yeah, it looks really nice and everything. So
Hopefully Mark is checking these ones in the videos. The old.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, right, because that's right.
Oh,
Mark Abel, yeah.
Yeah. He always brought that up.
Yeah, so much better
It was a pain.
experience.
And then Firefly Trail expansion, phase 3, nothing much to report other than Splost office is still working on trying to get all those easements acquired. But Derek is confident that he's going to take it out to bid later this summer. So that's what he's reporting to me at the our Splost update meetings. So. And then the Oconee Street Bridge Greenway Underpass, GDOT should have that, the bridge plans out to bid right now. And then, like I mentioned in the past, the bridge construction would start in the fall, and we would take our trail that goes under that bridge out to bid this summer. So that's pretty much it right now.
It's gonna be a great
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah, it's a pain to cross that road wherever you are, like Mama's Boy.
Mhm.
And two, with the last piece of the Firefly Trail, that's really gonna be important soon that moves along, because when they start the Meisner plant construction on Spring Valley, it's gonna be so much construction traffic
Mhm.
on that road. It will not be safe to bike.
Mhm.
So you're either gonna have to take Athens Road into Winterville Road if you want to keep the direction from Winterville to Athens, which isn't the greatest road either.
So hopefully the greenway between the Nature Center and Walker Hall area, they are working on the plans and the engineer is, and I think they're supposed to be getting Derek a set of plans soon. So next month I should be able to hopefully give a little more timeline or whatever on that project as well.
Thank you, because I was wondering about that, and that's Sandy Creek Nature Center, the road, looks like an old road. It's being funded by Peace Lost 2023. That's gonna be great. Todd and Daniel, I know y'all probably don't have a direct answer for this, but since this sometimes comes up in questions from people on the internet. Greenway that comes into, I guess it's Oak Street by Waffle House, the Waffle House connector. Still gravel, that's still a subcontractor issue with GDOT, right? We don't know when that's gonna be fixed. That's probably going to be something like when the on-ramp elections and the it's done in
Yeah,
years,
yeah.
right? Probably.
correct. And unfortunately, when GDOT takes, is the way I understand it, once GDOT takes possession of, or the contractor takes possession of that right of way, it's theirs, and it's, seems like it's a little hard to get them to put it back and all, quickly and all is what we're experiencing. So, but I know Derek is asking them to get it put back as quickly as possible. So, I will keep reminding, Derek, if he can, he has better, connections with those guys. And so I'll ask Derek to make sure he keeps reminding them to, get it back as quickly as possible.
Right. I know that they have a lot on their plate and there's only so much control we have over subcontractors.
That's kind of a miserable place to cross no matter what you do. Because, I mean, people are turning onto the on-ramp of the loop and there's no traffic control there and there's no
Right.
you just kind of hope that they're gonna yield to you to get to the turn signal.
Everybody is willing to push that yellow light on the turn there because the line's so long.
Yeah, I started walking. But you can't activate the cross until you get into that little triangle in the middle.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a slip lane, which another thing like Mark Abel hated. Oh, I get it.
And bikes hardly fit on that little thing either. but-
Yeah.
So it's
And it's-
a pain in so many ways.
And that's not ACC's fault. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, Todd. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where the bridge needs to go.
Flyover bridge.
Flyover bridge.
Mhm.
I've asked Daniel to see if he can find the plan so that me and him can start pondering on this connection for our next round of, I know he was talking to me the other day about it. So, me and him's go start, scheming.
Oh, Evie.
Could you
At least
fashion-
getting a very solid concept together that we can, you can easily present as the next round of SPOS, projects and everything. I think it would be good to kind of figure out some of that grading and how it would work.
I was just gonna go ahead and pop it into the MTP and then,
However you want to do it, Daniel.
yeah,
Yeah, the municipal transportation plan,
no, it's not municipal, it's a metropolitan transportation plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so for anyone who's trying to figure out what we're talking about, watching this later, Coney Street, Firefly Trail where it comes down to Coney Street along Old Winterton Road. There's Waffle House, there's the Greenway. It's very difficult to cross, and so what we're talking about here is maybe having a flyover bridge that could say, welcome to Athens, or I guess you're already in Athens. Welcome to East Athens.
Because the
Welcome
one
to
thing,
downtown. I don't know.
the one thing I was talking to Daniel about is I think the East Campus Bridge is like one of the longest spans that
Yes.
that bridge company can make. And I think it's 120 feet. And so that's where we need to kind of start. That's the reason I was talking to him about, let's try to start looking at this to see if, if we can span the entire road is the first question, because if we had to put pillars or down into the road somewhere, I'm kind of curious if we'll be able to do that or not. And
Oh, yeah, right.
Engineers get ready.
and the next step is to do a suspension bridge if we get, if that span's too big. And then that's an option, but it's a more expensive option.
That's good to know. That's something that I wouldn't have thought of, like that we are maybe trying not to put in those supports. I was thinking about the numerous bridges along the Fred Pinellas Trail in Florida where they're constantly crossing 6 lanes of traffic, but I do believe they have supports in the middle. They have these little islands, right? So trying not to do that, that does create engineering challenges.
If there were a bridge with elevators that went up and over, would people choose to do that? Or just walk across the street?
I don't want to put an elevator.
Here in this room, the people in this room.
Depends. I'd do it over. I would at least do it once. Not when you're standing there like coming down Old Winterville Road and you're hitting the button. You are 2 feet from traffic.
Yeah.
Going 60 miles an hour.
Right.
And there's a curve this high protecting you.
So I think ideally it would be
Ramp up.
a ramp, but if a ramp would be impossible.
Where is that bridge that he just showed?
Oh, that's the best part of the green.
Oh,
Going
it's
to campus.
behind campus.
Goes to where the music building is.
Oh, okay, the curving one.
Yeah. That's such a beautiful.
Yeah, it's what it is. Yeah.
And
Yeah, because I have a feeling that GDOT's gonna want us to span the entire right of way of the road there. And so that's where I'm kind of, one of the reasons I'm wanting to look at it a little bit more.
Oh, there's some tall semis that go up that road too.
Yeah. And then how do you, for people that park at the parking ride, how do they,
right.
if you start ramping up way back down Grove Street and how do you get those people from the parking ride onto the trail? So you got to figure out some kind of ramp, switchback or something. It's got to go somewhere right in that space or somewhere.
We just need 4 of them.
Oh, no, we just need like this elevated system here. It'll be kind of like Spaghetti Junction or something where we have like an on-ramp from the park and ride. And then, it meets the on-ramp at the Greenway.
Yeah, I was gonna do a triangle.
You know what? This is gonna be,
Donut.
some engineer can get an award for this.
Yeah.
You know?
You don't need
This is a
on
great
the other
problem.
side, because you can cross Winterville Road up where that mark is on the upper side. That's a safe crossing right up there. The top, but so I think you just need one connection on the east side of Lexington or Oconee.
Well, you could actually plug it into the park and ride.
Yeah.
And so you could do a bridge that does park and ride, Greenway and Firefly. 3-way bridge.
Be great.
Great.
We got some bridge feasibility grants out there that we could apply for. Lightning.
A 3-way bridge means that each of the 3 cars in the park and ride can take their own bridge.
Oh. It's not that we.
Thank you for that, Todd. Thanks for your work there. I'd love to see ideas for crossing here. Daniel and Katie, what would y'all like to share with us?
I got out the update pretty late, but we've got our, let's see, what's the best way to do this? Just. How much time do I have?
How much time do you have? 15 minutes.
All right.
We might be able to go a little over.
Usual
15 minutes to share
hurry.
with Katie too.
Yeah. Hey, do you want to do this?
The thing I worked on last was getting rid of a potential text amendment to no longer exempt industrial parcels from building sidewalks when they get developed.
Oh.
Yeah, because apparently, Ronnie had noticed that parcels got developed that were on, the Athens-Clarke plan. And so they were exempted from building sidewalks in, I think, tier 1 and tier 2.
So a few years back, yeah, basically the commission, the mayor commission, made something where certain roads and certain light industrial zoning was exempt from sidewalk construction. And then after that, the Athens in Motion plan came out. But you still have these industrial sites that are not required to build sidewalk, even though we have a future plan to have sidewalk there. Because the idea, I think, behind exempting that would be that, you know, oh, we don't ever plan to put sidewalk in light industrial, I guess, what the mayor and commission at the time was saying. So we've been working with planning to reverse that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay,
I think there's other stuff, but I didn't bring my document.
yeah, no problem. I finished doing all the MTP comments on the existing projects, still have not completed all of the new projects. As we mentioned, that extra bridge is going to be one of the things that I add into that. The crosswalk policy was approved at this last voting session with the CDO that actually gave it more funding.
Nice. Who authored the CDO? Just curious. Do you remember who authored the CDO?
I believe it was Commissioner Hool.
Great. Yeah, congrats.
It was on consent and Commissioner Hool, I believe, removed it from consent to add more money. So. There's a few other things here that, you know, as we move forward with these things. We did complete Senate appropriations request, 2 requests, one to Senator Ossoff, one to Senator Warnock.
Oh yeah, we did. We sent a recommendation letter on behalf of us. It was from me.
We needed a last minute support letter from different bodies. So thank you, Athens-Clarke Commission.
Sure. I know, and Daniel was working on his vacation to get that in. So thank you, Daniel.
Thank you when you were traveling in California.
Thank you when you were traveling to Niagara Falls for the eclipse.
Yeah. Yeah, reconnecting communities and neighborhoods is probably going to get started in the next 6 months. We still need to do all of the, you know, as you are aware, we're still working on the Safe Streets for All contract. And so the amount of time that's passed, probably about a year since we've started that. So it's likely that it would take the same amount of time, but we'll see if I can make it more efficient and we'll get it down to 6 months.
I have a question about Hawthorne and Oglethorpe, because I think some questions came out from the universe about that award we got is a planning grant, right?
Yes.
It's for planning. So because we've gotten that planning grant, it doesn't necessarily mean we get construction funds, but we are more likely to get construction funds from the same grant program in the future if we go through the planning process with these funds.
And essentially, basically, we don't currently have a plan for that road. So in order for us to apply for construction funds, we would have to have a plan. We don't have that and we don't have funds to do that in-house. So without a plan, like a planned concept, proved concept, which would be developed as part of this grant, without that, we wouldn't be able to apply for a construction grant. So,
and that's looking at a variety of things, a variety of safety issues along this corridor for all modes of transportation, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, so, and it actually includes one more segment that's not listed here, but this purple area is the extent of that particular project. So you can see from Prince Avenue down to Broad, and then from Broad to Alps, or to Baxter. That one's not included in this map.
Are you sharing this with WebEx?
I thought it was.
Oh, no, you're sharing something totally different, your email.
Oh.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that,
We're graduate students of the future.
graduate students, when they're like, oh, yay, oh, Hawthorne was terrible before, really? But it's so great now. It's our favorite road to be on.
Thank you for mentioning that. Share my email with the universe.
Yeah.
Can you see the map now on WebEx? Okay. So yes, these purple lines, those are the extents of that project. With the addition of Alps Road down here. This would essentially, and honestly, like, when we were also applying for the raise 2024, and we were increasing the ask amount because, 800,000 isn't quite enough to do what we really want to do, from a planning perspective. So, we did get the 800,000 award, which is great, but, we're gonna have to kind of stretch that, in terms of, we may not be able to do as many cross sections as we'd like, and, all that kind of stuff, so.
Thank you. Yeah, so for the benefit of the public, like there are a lot of grant funds out there, but a lot of these people who are bestowing these awards are not just going to give us the awards. They want to see plans, they want to see the process, they want to see the data. And we, as a community, can get that together. But you can't just be like, oh, I had this one idea. Let's apply for this $50 million grant.
Exactly. Well, and we learned this through North Avenue, where we had a rough concept, but it was more of a diagram of what we were planning on doing. And with the, we were awarded based on that. But what we're finding is that without having those in-depth plans, our schedule is going to be so compressed that really we're realizing it would have been more beneficial to have almost preliminary engineering, like almost completed. There's certain things you can't do within the planning grants. You can't do right-of-way acquisition or right-of-way planning, but you can get pretty far along in concept and I think preliminary engineering to an extent. I don't know that, I'm not sure about environmental, but
Yeah.
Back of napkin just doesn't get it.
yeah. So it really helps to have the more in-depth
I have
planning grant.
general question about, it seems like a lot of these big roads that we're talking about in Lexington from last meeting, they're utilizing multi-use paths, which I like. But I was sharing with a colleague at work, that concept and actually talking about Lexington and the multi-use path, and she was also commenting on the multi-use path at Riverbend. She's an avid cyclist, but she says, "Oh, I hate multi-use paths because cars don't look for you when they're turning into you from
Yes.
the road, and
Yes.
it's much safer." She would prefer to be on a road without a bike lane over a multi-use path, and I didn't know how to answer that.
That's a great question. I think what people, especially those of us who can be proponents of multi-use paths, forget is a multi-use path is really just a glorified sidewalk and will have the same issues as a sidewalk with driveways and everything else. So that's why context is key, as our professionals can attest to. It's useful when we're kind of in these in-between places, maybe between cities and a rural area, a little bit of suburbia, as long as we can minimize those driveways, because otherwise it's not gonna matter. It's just be like a sidewalk and you're going to be at risk there. So in that case, my understanding is we probably would want people on bikes, scooters and everything to be at a place somewhere at level with the road where they can be seen. And then particularly as we get into the more urban context, we're going to want to separate out those modes of transportation. So your friend is probably also afraid of hitting people on a multi-use path. We're going much slower, right? And
Yeah, they're afraid of being hit by cars that are not paying attention to the fact that there's a bike there and hitting.
Right.
pedestrians. Yeah.
right, so that makes sense. Y'all, did I get that?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, one other thing, while I completely understand that point of view, it seems like she's probably in that group of cyclists that are already comfortable riding in the roadway.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So,
Yeah, that's fine.
these pathways, these bike lanes, these multi-use paths aren't really for serious road cyclists. Like, they're going to continue riding in the road. We are trying to build infrastructure that people who are interested in cycling but don't feel safe doing so, that's what we're building infrastructure for the most part. So it is going to be slower bike speeds usually. Someone maybe you know, and stopping at each of those curb cuts. Now, I will say like an area like Atlanta Highway where you have curb cuts every 10 or 15 feet isn't really conducive to a multi-use path, even though we're pursuing building one there, just because that's like the best that we can do right now. But, you know, until we kind of get into that, you know, how do we reconstruct aspects of these communities and actually change the context of the land around the roads and not just like, you know, we are within the right of way. So what all can we do? Well, you know, on Atlanta Highway, you could reconstruct that entire corridor to actually be kind of some high speed elements and some slower speed elements and, you know, have better land use policies and practices and, you know, businesses that are in the front, parking lots in the back, you know, those types of elements. But that kind of gets outside the scope of right of way. So,
Well, I mean, I've been commuting for years or something, but I'm still right now much more comfortable on multi-use paths because everybody's texting in their car, they're driving really fast. Yeah, it's like, I figured we just didn't have those distractions just from driving here, you know, back in the good old days, but.
Yeah, Katie, you have a vision zero thought on that or any thought?
I agree, context is really key, and yeah, multi-use paths and curb cuts aren't really that compatible. Yeah, I think it really depends. They're perfect if there are places without many curb cuts, you're along a body of water or railroad track.
There
Yeah,
have been long stretches of road, you know, like more rural areas do make sense. If there's not a lot of curb cuts, it's just. So I understand that. Ultimately, we only have so much say. We can show the recommendations of what we're doing, and it's kind of like Barber Street, for instance. You know, at one point there was a lot of push to convert Barber Street into a multi-use path, but with the amount of pedestrians that we were anticipating, as well as, you know, cyclists, pedestrians, like all those people going onto a 10-foot path is just not suitable. You know, you'd end up more not necessarily worrying about drivers. While you still do need to worry about drivers in that case, the turning movements, but you know, who's to say that someone's walking their dog and they're not paying attention because they're looking at their phone and the dog jumps out in front of you. And now, you know, you're gonna go over your handlebars or are you gonna hit the dog?
we'd want to have a whole suite of solutions depending on the context for each segment of a street. I think.
So ultimately, Athens in Motion as a whole kind of prioritizes where do we need bike infrastructure with an asterisk, and the asterisk is depending on context. And then once we get those projects kind of prioritized, then you really dive in and you say, okay, what does this project actually look like? You know, it's hard to say, like, at one point in time, I was like, oh, well, we just need to plan out where all the multi-use paths are going to be and where the separated bike lanes are. And like, while it is technically possible to do that, that would require essentially doing concept development for every single one of our roadways throughout the entire community, which unfortunately I just don't have the time.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for that question.
But and thanks for her question. I mean, that's
Yes.
a good point. But I think the other thing to consider though with that is I think in the past I've also seen, you know, cyclists come out and say about Barber Street, for instance, that we shouldn't be putting in bike lanes because it's safer to be in the road. And so the people who are decision makers at the top hear that and they say, oh, well, we shouldn't do any bike infrastructure. That's what they hear. And so you just gotta, you know, it's like in one hand, there's safe ways to navigate our infrastructure as it stands today. And we can't let that get in the way of thinking forward and planning for safer infrastructure.
You want to take down your screen?
Yeah.
Or, was there any other high level things you wanted to make sure you covered?
Let's see.
Out of all the things that
We have sent a memo to Blaine about Safe Routes to Schools initiative.
it's Manager Williams.
Yes, thank you, Manager Williams. This is
Yeah, not you.
asking for a budget request, in this year's budget. And this is just, basically, there's been multiple Safe Routes to Schools audits over the last like decade almost, and they've all been compiled into one report. And the goal here is to get the like $1 million needed to implement all of those findings in those audits, so.
We could really clear out all those items with just $1 million.
The ones that are specifically in these audits, it doesn't necessarily fix it, like if we revisited some of these old road safety audits, we would have more things to add probably. But, you know, that would accomplish the backlog. We're working on mid-block crossing requests. That one. Yeah, I think all of these, if you have any questions about the capital projects, I can talk about any of those, but the next one to be delivered is that Riverbend Road project. So
Can you just briefly say where we are in the process with Barber Street? Because I did get some questions about that. Where are we?
we are doing field work and survey for the base map enhancement. So basically, one of the first things you have to do is like fully understand what's on the ground. And that's what they're doing right now, is to build that base map. And then they're working for some, there's a draft memo for Tracy Street stop warrant. There were, as part of the CDO, there were some requests for stop warrants for a three-way stop, like at Tracy Street, I believe. And then, we're also looking for there's just a few things like railroad coordination. Before we can dive too deep into the design, we're figuring out options between A or B for, different scenarios. And so, for instance, there's a big magnolia at Boulevard Woods. And one of the things that CDO cited is the need to protect all of those large trees. Mm-hmm. So we worked with our community forester, mm-hmm. and they found a treatment that, while pretty expensive, would save that tree from having to be cut down. Okay. With any expansion. So it's essentially going in with an air spade, clearing out the roots and dirt, and then backfilling with, like loose aggregate with a certain soil mixture. And so all of those types of things is just because, so they're working through those design details right now. Okay.
Yeah, so it seems like there's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's mostly behind the scenes at the moment.
Can you scroll down a little bit so we can see that full update that you have written out, just so the public can see that, I guess. Yeah, thank you.
So there's, let's see.
Yeah, can you do Command ++ or Control ++? Yeah. Great.
So those are updates from January. So some of these things have already happened. I don't quite have those updates like uploaded into here, but I'm working on that in my. And then I was mentioning earlier the appropriations request that was for this intersection, so Hawthorne and Oglethorpe intersection, which is different than Hawthorne and Oglethorpe RCP project. So that's the Reconnecting Communities project, is the planning grant. This is actually intersection improvements that have been going on since, yes, I think 2011 or 2018, one of those two SPLOSTs. SPLOST or T-SPLOST. And yeah, other things are going along smoothly on the corridor projects. And there's all the GDOT projects. I think that's, oh yeah. I'm working with Tool Design Group on getting the Athens in Motion Plan update kicked off. So that should hopefully be coming to y'all soon, and we'll get a date for that workshop.
Yeah, probably not this spring anymore, but later on. That's fine.
I think Katie's got webpage training tomorrow for ACC Gov website, so, and then she's gonna fix all of our website problems.
You could just put a bunch of like under construction gifts on our page, because that's basically what this plan is about, just keeping things. under construction. Construction, bike lanes, multi-paths.
Yeah.
So this is in our inbox. And obviously Daniel and Katie continue to do a lot during the month, but if y'all ever want to do a deep dive on any of this, if you have an idea for a deep dive, send it my way, because what we can do is we can use our time when we don't have a presentation from someone to, you know, focus our time and go a little bit deeper. So, because obviously they're doing a lot. There's a lot we could talk about. So yeah, just let me know. I can put it on the agenda. All right. Well, thank y'all. And so we'll go on to our committee and organization report backs. Teresa's not here. Randy, anything from Lexington?
No, nothing new.
Okay, I'm on Prince Avenue. We have a meeting tomorrow. There's not any big stuff going on. Oh, well, there's the Meek Street. It's Meeks, right? Is now one way from.
Where is that?
Dun, dun, dun. How about that? Yes. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, so-
You pronounce that Meeks?
Megs? How do you
Megs.
pronounce it?
Megs. Megs.
Nice.
Yeah,
Megs?
I knew where Meg Street was.
Okay. All right. All right, I get this, I get some cities and stuff right. Pulaski.
Oh, no. Well, this helps.
Hey, listen, in the English language, not knowing a pronunciation, especially when it's from an eponym, is completely understandable.
Thank you though, because I always wonder, like, so Meg Street from Newton to Prince Avenue is one way now.
Right, I saw that. the other
Right,
day.
and I think that later it's going to be one way from Finlay to Newton. Wanted to get, that's correct, Daniel's.
Phase
gonna get thumbs up. That's phase 2. So it is one way here, and then Newton Street is blocked off here. And so that's good, because what's been happening, people have been still trying to take left-hand turns on the Megs, and we need that turn lane. That former turn lane is you're straight through.
So it's one way going to Prince.
That's correct. Thank you. Yeah, for asking.
There's also a new loading zone that was installed, so now the trucks that are unloading on Prince actually have a loading zone they can use
Oh, cool.
without stopping in Prince. Yeah, and the other section of Megs will be, will probably commence after there's an apartment complex that is, or a development of some sort in that parking lot in the future. And so that will add some other ingress egress into and out of that area. And at that point, it'll just get a little easier for people, hopefully, to move in and out. So.
That's the Prince Avenue side. And then any other updates from our committees besides what we talked about today? Actually, okay. UGA.
Don't have anything for today.
Okay. Yeah, the bike share. Is that geofence still along the greenway?
Believe so.
Darn.
There's a section where it's rideable between the UGA Park Drive and campus. I believe.
I'm not completely sure if the dual assist is operational though in that.
Oh. I noticed a lot of bikes in the bike share.
Yeah, that's a good spot for
Need to make that
Yeah.
connection from
Yeah.
the park and ride to campus.
I can double check. I met with, and they were inquiring whether, ACC is interested in pursuing bike share in the rest of the city. So I'm working on finding out from Athens whether that is true.
I think they were in town earlier last week. Maybe went there.
Yeah.
You know, I love the concept.
Hey, Daniel, we installed 6 bike racks at the Firefly East Broad Street Trailhead, kind of anticipation of if we ever do a bike share. So there's,
Okay.
that was the logic of all those bike racks there.
Okay.
So I thought that was a
Yeah.
little different.
I was like, oh, there's a lot of nice bike racks
Yeah.
here.
So do y'all plan on having bike share at some of your trailheads?
I think me and Alex actually had a conversation with them, and I don't know where Alex has gone, where it got and everything, but we were anticipating it, so that's the reason I put those 6 bike racks there.
Well, that would be good for them to know. I'll put them in touch with you or Alex. Is Alex still the person in charge on that?
Yes.
Or would it be Rose?
Go to Alex first,
Okay.
since he was the one having the conversation a year or two ago, so whenever we had that, so.
Yeah, so actually, Todd, could you bring up your presentation again? Because Art was wondering where we were talking about these bike racks being. You probably have the better visual.
Yeah, let's see if I have,
So where we did all these improvements here at the Firefly Trailhead, there's a whole bunch of new bike racks.
That's for the UGA.
Or Todd is anticipating like, okay, once we get a bike share, this would be a place to put them. That's so smart.
yeah, so let me zoom in.
Okay, and I'll stop sharing my screen so you can share yours.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the concept of these bike shares, but the ones at UGA are kind of out of control because they just end up all over the place. They're even in neighborhoods around the campus now that I'm starting to see. And they also, they pay no attention to where they should like lock their bikes. They just take up a lot of the available bike racks for people who are using their own bikes. And so it's really it's kind of a pain for disruptive to people who have bikes anyway. I know you don't have any control.
Well, no, and there's not as much regulation if they do. The goal is there's no docking station. They don't need to dock them to recharge the battery. So the idea is to park them in a bike rack somewhere on campus. And we've had issues before, like outside of the Georgia Center, where a lot of people were commuting. And we work with the company to move them or add in another spot. But yeah, it's difficult when one is on the edge of campus, just far away from,
But even in the center of campus, I'm finding there's like this totally empty bike rental rack, and then the bike rentals are all in parking. And so I'm just not, just locking my bike up onto bike rental racks. And, well, I guess
Well, I think the bike rental racks were they're labeled from previous times. So those are just normal bike racks now.
that's correct.
Yeah, and the bike share is redistributed every morning. So I think, through our conversation, one of the things that they mentioned was that it is difficult to kind of balance. So there's 150 bikes always on campus that UGA wants to always have on campus. And those 150 bikes, they have certain spots for them. And so as people ride them around and leave them at their destination, those get picked up, charged, moved to, overnight, that kind of thing. They have 3 staff people doing that. So I think one of the issues right now is that with you not being able to take them off campus or have stations at home, it doesn't really supplement. Like my thought, and I think most people's thought, is that bike share would reduce car trips to campus. And it's not functioning as that because if all the bikes are on campus,
Exactly, yeah.
you're not replacing your car trip. So it's more replacing the transit trips. So it's to skip having to ride the bus. You can just jump on a bike and ride across campus. So I think the goal would be that having them in the community would help supplement those trips to campus. But yeah, I think additional staff would probably be needed to help regulate where the bikes are ending up. And there's also a lot that can be done to certain areas where you could have mandatory parking, where it's like, if it's not hooked up at this location, you can't stop your ride. And in that case, they'll contact the person and be like, hey, by the way, you still have it rented. You know, this first time we'll waive the, $100 of rental fees because it was sticking away. But in the future to do that. And
It'd be really nice also to have a way to have helmets as part of this, but I mean.
You
I
can get a
never-
free helmet, right?
Can,
Well, I know you can't, if somebody asks, but then they have to lug it around and, I'm just saying, nobody wears a helmet with the same. I don't know if I've ever seen a biker with a helmet.
Yeah, you get to your parking lot, you all of a sudden realize you're running late and just missed the bus. So you hop on the bike.
Yeah, I don't know what the solution is, but I worry about that too.
I do want to, Todd did bring up the
Yeah.
screen where the new bike racks are.
So you can see just beyond
yeah.
our information monolith sign is the group of bike racks.
Yeah.
back
That's-
here.
Okay.
That's just down from the Classic Center before you get to the river.
Yes.
Weaver D's is on the left as well.
Right.
Thank you, Todd.
Yeah, and I actually saw one of the bike share bikes at Easley Mill today. It was parked in the bike racks. I don't know if they got that far or what, so.
I'm going to share my screen. And maybe I won't share my email this time. So this is the future configuration of so the Greenway Trail would come up just off camera here or screen. This is the park and ride, I believe.
Are we back at Waffle House?
We're at Waffle House. Waffle House is over here. This is racetrack, right? Yeah. So this is the future configuration. You can see they have removed the slip lanes except for this one. So these are all straight across crossings. It is still a long distance, but it's a little better. There is a Maltese path that goes along the front of the park and ride and continues under the bridge.
How you get there.
So
That's going to connect to the Lexington. Perfect.
yeah. So this interchange will be, it's not so many slip lanes that you have to kind of dart across. You'll have push buttons at these landings. It's not great, but it's something. And then I believe that path comes along under the bridge.
Can you send some version of this to us?
And then
Towards the end here.
the other one.
And I told everyone 5:30. But thank you. Yeah, because this is a lot to process. Maybe this could be something that if y'all want to do a deeper dive on, like the plans, like what is actually going to happen in 2 years when GDOT finishes the project, we can definitely do that. So just let me know. But going back to our updates, anything else? Greenway.
Well, we all know that Harris Creek Extension opened on the 16th. We love it. Think it's beautiful. That's about it.
It's beautiful, wonderful addition, and I'm using it for transportation and everything else too.
Well, and perhaps contrary to the spirit of this meeting, I was going to let Blaine know that I did have the opportunity going to the dedication to use the Park Mobile app in the E23 lot. And that was painless and easy to do.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Alan, any updates from T-Splash 2023?
Yeah, we had this month's meeting, we actually had 3 project proposals to look at. One was for the upcoming pavement maintenance schedule, which met the proposal, so that was fine. One was for the project plan, approving the project plan for the new transit station at the mall. So that would be right behind the Burger King area and covered bus area in there, and showed us a map of that. And then the other one was the other one was the airport, their runway rehabilitation. And they mentioned as an aside that maybe within the next year or two, we might be looking at commuter access again, which I thought was the most wonderful thing in the world back when we had it, because you have to get to your plane at least 15 minutes ahead of time, but and free parking. But that was good. But
That would be just commuter access to Hartsfield.
they didn't yet.
Specified that yet.
Yeah, they haven't specified that. But one of the most interesting things was T-Splost is well ahead of schedule in their fund collection.
Once again, T-Splost on top.
And
Stands for.
they're probably going to be sitting the next T-Splost committee this fall.
What?
No, really? Wait, what year is this?
What are the deadlines for?
I was surprised to hear that.
No, wait, they don't really mean sitting
That's what,
this fall. Sitting.
those were the words that were said.
We would need to start our project proposals now
Yeah.
if they wanted us.
Maybe sitting is the wrong, maybe sitting the commission is the wrong word, but start whatever the ramp up is at the beginning. I probably did interpret that wrong, because you got to get the project proposals before you.
I'll find out.
Good to know.
I was thinking it was like 2 years down the pike.
Yeah, I thought it would be T-Splost 2027, which would be voting in 2026, which would be seated in 2025. We're coming up on it. We would be coming up on it even on a normal schedule. Damn. I mean, darn. Okay, thank you.
More money for transportation.
It was just like, it takes a lot of time to prepare that, and then that's also ends up being a lot of work for staff to review proposals. They have a lot going on. Okay, sorry, I know we are like over,
Didn't mean to give you a heart attack.
yeah, I did, want to, we can do a real quick commissioner round. I'm gonna go ahead and mention that Scott indicated, there is Twilight's this weekend. There's a Bike Athens Twilight Joyride Friday at 6 p.m. starting at the College Avenue deck. So the joyrides are casual rides for casual folks. So this is not, you don't have to be like a, a Twilight aspirant person to join the Bike Athens Joyrides coming out. They're fun. Anything else?
Yes,
Yes,
if I may.
yes.
This is gonna be hopefully potentially cathartic. And this is, and I know that I have a sympathizing / empathizing group. You heard me coughing. That was a little bit of asthma that was triggered. That's okay. It's fine. I went to, I often will bike bus when I can, when I'm not commuting children around. But I went to pick up the bus where on Atlanta Highway, where there's a tidal wave car wash. I'm sure you all are very familiar with the various car washes, right? It's near like I think that's the new Whataburger that's there. And there's a little motel that's right there, and that's where a bus stop is that I'll pick up from Timothy Road. I cut through. And as I cut through, I saw the bus was there at the stop, and so I rode down and people were loading up. And I go and I pull up close to the bus. People have finished loading, but I'm sure they're still sitting. And I pull to the side to get off my bike and then load it. And the bus driver sees me and just pulls off and leaves as I'm just standing there, like waiting.
No.
What's going on? So I rode on Atlanta Highway all the way down to the modal center, the transfer center, and they told me I could file a complaint. I was very polite to the supervisor. I just said, this is what happened. It was very surprising. I've ridden buses in many places, and I was just surprised. And it said on my stop that it was going to be there at 3:15. I was probably there about 3:12. And one thing that I was wondering, it doesn't make sense to have
a liaison from, because we are a bike walk, modal transportation. Would it make sense to have a liaison from the bus group to this group? I don't know, because there's a lot of issues. I mean, we've talked about this as far as bike stops and whatnot, but
Yeah.
I'm saying that, also just to be cathartic, because I'm sure y'all are sympathetic to what we're trying to do. I'm just like, so the next bus would be at that bus stop an hour.
Yeah.
Every hour, yeah.
Right.
And I'm just kind of thinking like,
Make
what,
it work, yeah.
I'm just like, what motivated that? The first person I spoke to said, well, if you're not technically at the stop right when they're there, then they have that right to leave. And I'm just kind of like, really? I mean, this is kind of how we're going to be handling this situation. But
you were there.
but I mean, I was in front of, apparently there's a bus stop ahead, which I didn't know there was a bus stop ahead that the driver went to. But even if I'd have gone up there and that driver, and there had not been anyone there, they would have just driven on because they don't stop, So, I mean, I was like waving to them yeah, it was really.
Well, I know they don't have a rigorous schedule, but if you've actually arrived before the, reported schedule, yeah. I can see if you're running behind, but if you're early already, do the nice thing.
Yeah.
We don't know what stresses or what.
Right, exactly. No, and that's
What
yeah.
things that they have to make sure
The
that.
supervisor was very sympathetic and,
Yeah.
was like apologetic and just.
The driver was thinking about their sick mom and the kids having to get to soccer or whatever, yes.
And I was fortunate that I still had my mode of transportation. I could, but yeah, I mean, Mark doesn't like me to ride on Atlanta Highway on my bicycle, so I've had to disobey Mark to do that. No, what was it?
A-Bone.
A-Bone, yeah, because when I told him I rode occasionally on Atlanta Highway, he's like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
That was
There
my
with you.
thing. Thanks for giving me that little bit of time, even if.
We'll talk more. We'll talk more. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn today's
So
meeting.
moved.
First,
Second.
any opposed? Favor, please say aye. All right, thank you, everyone. Goodbye, Wells. Not recording.